Hello. Today we're going to talk about a pen that doesn't get a lot of reviews online yet. This is the Hero H718. It's an interesting pen. It's a Chinese-made pen. It's not a particularly inexpensive pen. It runs between $75 and $80, so it's not a typical cheaply made, very plasticky Chinese-made pen. This is actually a very solid pen. It's predominantly metal. The body is all metal. The cap is sort of a heavy plastic material, and it's a very well-made, very solid pen. It weighs 62 grams, so it is a fairly heavy pen. One thing that you will notice when I uncap it is it seems to be missing the nib, but it is not. This is a retractable pen. So you turn this knob at the end, it causes the nib to extend, you turn it back and it retracts. It mimics an old-fashioned safety pen, but it is not an old-fashioned safety pen. A true safety pen, which I actually have an example of right here, works quite differently. A true safety pen, you have to hold it upright, otherwise the ink will run out. You uncap the pen, that then exposes the body which stores the ink. Now if I was to turn this over, the ink would just run out of the pen. You extend the nib, that then seals the top. You can then write with it as you would a normal pen. When you're done, you retract the nib, and what happens is the inside of the cap actually seals that hole at the top of the pen. That's why they were called a safety pen, because when this is capped, the top of the pen is effectively corked. So any sort of jostling that goes around, you're not going to end up with a cap full of ink that you would with a normal fountain pen. This pen is essentially a normal fountain pen with a retractable nib. So it stylistically mirrors a safety pen, but it is not a safety pen. So when I turn this over, the ink does not run out because this fills very much like a conventional pen. You extend the nib, you pull this cap in the back, you can then operate a piston filling mechanism inside. It doesn't hold a lot of ink. I've measured this. It holds between, say, 0.5 and 0.7 milliliters of ink, which is, given the size of the pen, is a little less than you might think, but it's still a fairly decent amount. In terms of writing, this pen writes quite nicely. By the way, this mechanism actually works very smoothly and nicely. It's extremely well made. There's clearly probably a lot of metal parts, both inside and out, and that lends to the weight. But this mechanism works very, very smoothly. The nib is a 10-carat gold nib, which is an unusual metal content. Gold nibs tend to be 14, 18, sometimes 12, sometimes 21. You don't see 10 very often, but it is a nice, soft nib. It does have a bit of flex going on, not a lot, but it does have some. So it is pretty nice. It's sort of a bouncy, soft nib. So like we said, this is the Hero H718 pen, and the ink I am using is Noodler's Heart of Darkness. Now, this ink is probably my favorite black ink. If you and this is what the bottle looks like. If I only had one black ink, this would probably be it. It's a good all-purpose black ink, and it meets my primary criteria for a black ink in that it is very black. It is extremely dark, extremely saturated. It is a very, very black ink. It comes in this nice big bottle, and you get it financially. It's a very good deal, economically wise. However, this is not the ideal bottle for filling up a pen other than an eyedropper filled pen. If you're not filling up an eyedropper filled pen, it's a bit challenging. This top is very narrow. Some pens won't even fit. And even if they do, you really have no idea, because of the way the bottle's made and you can't see it, how far you need to stick the pen, because you can't be sure what level the ink is at. So you either end up not putting the pen far enough down in the bottle and it becomes challenging to fill the pen, or you put it down too far and you end up with quite a bit of mess on your hands. A couple of ways we can mitigate that. One is to get something like this. This is called an ink miser. It's essentially a severely tapered little ink well. And what you do is you take the eyedropper, put some ink in there, and then fill the pen as normally you would from this little ink well. And when you're done, you pour it back. That works great. The only downside is you have one more thing you have to clean when you're all done with the process. So that's good, but not the best. My recommendation is to get yourself some of these little vials. These are really good. They're really cheap. You can get them on eBay. They're very inexpensive. They work perfectly. They hold 5, 6, 7 milliliters of ink, which is more than enough for quite a few fills. Simply take the eyedropper, fill the vial. Don't fill it all the way to the top. You obviously need to leave room to be able to stick the pen in, and then you're good to go for quite a few fillings. One tip is, tempted as you might be, do not pour the ink from the bottle into the vial. Use the eyedropper or use a syringe. These little vials also can serve another purpose besides when you have bottles like this to deal with. They can also help when you have bottles like this to deal with. J. Herbin, for example, makes great ink but absolutely terrible bottles. These are literally the worst possible shape to fill a fountain pen with. They're short and wide, which is literally exactly what you don't want for a situation like this. So what you can do is transfer some ink from a bottle like this into a vial like this, and you're good to go. And then you can take this bottle and just keep it for display on your desk, which is about all it's good for. But great ink, not so good bottles. We'll probably do a review of this ink in a subsequent video. But like I said, Noodler's Heart of Darkness is probably, if I had to pick one black ink, this is a great black ink. It dries fairly quickly. It doesn't feather very much. It really kind of has all the nice characteristics that you want. It's what we would call, I guess, a fairly well-behaved, nice black ink. And like I said, it meets my main criteria for a black ink in that it is very, very, very dark. Back to our pen, like I said, one other thing. A lot of people say that this pen doesn't post. It really doesn't post, but if you're at all like me and you're always concerned about losing the cap, you can stick the cap on the end of the barrel and it will sort of stay there. It doesn't post by any means, but the cap will stay there if you're just worried about losing it while you're writing. Also, you might be wondering, how do I prevent my nib from getting damaged if I accidentally stick the cap on with the nib extended? Well, they've thought of that. There's a little metal rod inside the cap which will hit a notch at the end of the feed, which will prevent the nib from getting damaged. So you don't have to worry about that. It does protect you from yourself. So that, my friends, is the Hero H718 pen and Noodler's Heart of Darkness ink. I hope you enjoyed this video, and thank you for watching.